What person's voice makes you deeply uncomfortable? Something about Tucker Carlson's voice is so unbelievably off-putting. You let your emotions. And he puts on a serious face like he believes what he's saying. But it's clear he doesn't, and is on record saying one thing in public and something wildly different in private. The dissonance in those things makes me very uncomfortable when listening to him. His weird laugh makes the hair on my arms stand up. Him Powerpuff Girls. Back in my childhood, I remember I couldn't sleep good for few days after watching an episode where he was the main antagonist. Him has a unique high-pitched normal voice modulation which scared me shitless. And his psychological manipulation is extreme for kids' cartoon. Kudos to the voice artist. I'm in my 30s now, and still hate recollecting his haunting voice. Slavoj Zizek, or however you spell his name. He just constantly slurps and sounds like he has a horrible cold. Also, Kamala Harris's voice is pretty grating, especially her laugh, and that default TikTok bot voice. Oh, and the head of HR at my company has the most obnoxious sounding voice, but I freely admit it's not her voice as much as her smug attitude. My boss's voice has the stereotypical hag, or witchy tinge to it. It doesn't help that she has a bit of a stash, and some moles. She's talking normal, but seriously sounds high-pitched and screeching. Just her saying good morning to the customers sounds threatening, like you just walked into that gingerbread house from Hansel and Gretel. The one I call Old American Pervert. T for Porn Company. It's my teenage gig for a quick buck, and Jesus Christ, every customer from Florida had this disgusting wet trembling voice that makes you want to yell at them to cough it out already. Every time I hear this kind of voice in some random video, I just want to puke. This isn't exactly answering the prompt directly, but it feels related. I loathe Matt Walsh and pretty much everything he represents. That said, I'm genuinely bummed that that dude chose to use an objectively fucking legendary radio voice for ... that. Like, the guy is a ghoul. But those pipes. Dear God. So, I'll take a different angle at this. To me, most people will display discomfort by laughing and are unable to control said laughter. Based on this ... I would unfortunately 100 be like to host here if I had a conversation with this guest, laughing. When a grown woman talks in a high-pitched baby voice, there are two or my 600 pounds life. I just want to swat them. I heard some woman talking like that in the grocery, and it was like ground class. Just stop doing that in public. Home with your boo, whatever you want, but in public, no. Just stop. Shapiro, I can't tell if it's intentional or just neurodivergent. Because he talks like that dude at school who was obsessed with trains and loved role-playing as a Marine his first year of draw. I'm leaning towards intentional. His whole demeanor is just I'm smarter than you. Fuck you. I wouldn't call myself an active hater of her, but something about Taylor Swift's singing voice makes it difficult for me to listen to her music even if I wanted to. I don't even think she's bad at singing. It's just perfectly tuned to be a dork whistle to my ears or something. I used to work with a person who had a very high-pitched and their laugh was so jarring I had to remind myself not to look shocked whenever I heard it. I feel really bad, BC, that's just how they sounded. I of course never said anything about it or made fun of them. But damn. Slavoj Zizek. I love the guy. I find his thoughts incredibly interesting and entertaining ... And bless him. I know he suffers from nervous tics and a speech impediment ... But yeah, the sounds he makes with his face make me want to pour concrete in my ear holes. This is going to sound not very nice, but I can't stand the voice of the girl that lives behind us. She's about 10-12 with some type of developmental disability, maybe Down syndrome. Anyway, her voice is like nails on a chalkboard to my ears. It's just awful. The breakdancing dad. Just the way he tries to be calmly explain why he left his family and exploit his daughter's relationship with him to promote his. It sickens me. He's like treating the audience like a child. Really condescending tone. Drew Barrymore. Love most of the movies she's in. And she has always seemed like she'd be a good or likable person. But I'll be damned if the sound of her voice doesn't make me want to close my head in a panini press. I know this is going to get me in trouble, but trans women always give my ears the uncanny valley. I love, accept, and fight for them and their rights, but 100 of the time the voices give me the heebie-jeebies. It's oddly specific, but the guy catfishing Olivia in the new season of The Circle on Netflix, LOL, probably no one knows what the fuck I'm talking about, but anyway, him precisely. Kind of high-pitched and whiny voice. Richard Harris, the first Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies, if you don't know him from anything else. My dad has every album he ever recorded. They're terrible, and I can't hear his voice without cringing. One of the hosts from the Tooth and Claw podcast. He sounds like a stone cartoon character. Guy seems nice enough, but I just end up giving myself a headache from clenching my jaw as I power through an episode. There's a woman at work whose voice makes me a little nauseated, gives me goosebumps, and also makes me instantly angry, which is a bummer because she's really nice, and I have no reason to dislike her at all. I'm sorry to say, Fran Drescher, I loved her show, but I honestly thought growing up she was faking that voice. I couldn't believe she actually sounds like that. Genuinely sorry. I absolutely love the lady. I know I suck, I get it, but the voices on South Park. Yeah, I get it's part of its allure, and I think the bits and shows are hilarious. But the voices, I don't know. I wish I could pose. I just can't. The daily dose of the internet commentator. It sounds like he's holding his nose and talking. The clips on that channel are generally good, but I can't stand his voice, and he introduces every clip. Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, Douglas Murray, Alan Levy, Chai Raichik, Marjorie Taylor Greene, RFK Jr., Donald Trump, and Adolf Hitler. They all make my skin crawl. Aisha Rasco on NPR. Just something about her timbre, and it's kind of nasal. IDK. I'm sure she's a great journalist and a wonderful person, but her voice sets my teeth on edge. On Roku Live TV, there is a cooking show commercial where a person says to everyone out there, follow your dreams. That hoarse voice grates on my nerves. Asterian. I'm sorry fans, but something about him speaking makes me feel that I would always be standing as far away from him as possible at any point. Not a person, but some AI voices are either annoying like the female TT voice and some older ones from a few years ago before the technology improved. Joan Cusack and Holly Hunter. I know the latter has a hearing issue, but regardless, both of them talk in a weird, swallowing way that grates me badly. A previous co-worker of mine would always get on my back, harassing me every chance she got. Now, her voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard. My grandgirl ex had a cross between a cartoon villain and a sneaky little boy when he laughed. Just gave me the creepy crawlies. I think his name is Corpse on YouTube. That he's a streamer that has such a low voice that it sounds straight out of a horror movie. Voices of American people, especially that one called Valley Girl accent. Voice of Billie Eilish and voices of the Kardashians. Super specific. But Christina on this current season of Next Level Chef makes me want to scratch my skin off when she talks. Camilla Luddington when she is Jo on Grey's Anatomy. She's British but the character is American, so she over-enunciates. RFK Jr. he could say that he supports vaccination and HIV can lead to AIDS, and I still will refuse to listen to him. Violet, the dense bean salad girl who I see on Instagram. Her salads look amazing, but I cannot tolerate her voice. Rosalind Chow. I'm watching Three Body Problem and half expect her to say Pepperidge Farm remembers. God shut up woman. My friend's brother. I get so creeped out and go into fight or flight mode even if I hear his voice across the room. The guy who sat next to me in high school and always muttered under his breath. His voice made my heart feel uneasy. Justin Trudeau ... a manchard that speaks like he's a pedo father figure to people who are probably older than him. KW and WEG. I hate that voice. Sydney Sweeney sounds just like a girl I had a pretty serious relationship with in college. It weirds me out. Kevin Spacey, and he's doing his weird Southern House of Cards voice to justify why he's not a sex criminal. The guy who does SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob is the sweetest character, but his voice makes me cringe. Buck Martinez. I will actually leave the room when my boyfriend is watching a game with him commenting, RFK Jr. has spasmodic dysphonia. His voice is awful to listen to. He needs speech therapy ASAP. Tiny Tim. Tiptoe Through the Tulips makes me so uneasy no matter how many times I have heard it. The singer from Rush. I can't get into their music because the guy's voice is so grating to me. There an ad on YouTube right now for beef sticks. The guy who does the voiceover is the worst. The prosecuting attorney from Making a Murderer. I don't trust men who use a fake gentle voice. Filthy Frank. I could never get through any of his videos. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Emmerich. Dude is a legend. But the tone of his voice is terrible to me for some reason. Ted Levine. Gives me the Silence of the Lambs creeps every damn time I hear his voice. Katy Perry. The main character on The Good Doctor, and the main guy on Chicago PD. Charlie Day, Pacific Rim. Is that his normal voice? Like calls on a chalkboard. Anyone with overly high-pitched voice suddenly comes screaming beside me. Louis Anderson IP and Ryan Reynolds smarmy, contrived, exhausting. Surprisingly no one. I try to think of, but no one's name come into mind. The singer from Rem. Absolutely can't listen to any of their music. The voice that I have in my head for Owen Meany is fucking awful.